Well, good morning, everybody. Like Bob said, my name is BJ Baule. I'm obviously not Jeff Andreessen, but I'm sitting in for him this morning to give a brief weather update of conditions from the last 7 days across Michigan and looking forward to the next 7 days out into the fall. Just a picture there on the front. This is from Twitter. Winter wheat harvest progressing in the state. I think the latest USDA numbers had it up to 45% complete as of July 28th, and says it's progressing quickly. So there's a nice picture I found from Ithaca, Michigan at Toas Farms. So borrowed that picture. So to kind of recap what's happened the last 7 days, after a really active weather pattern for most of the spring into the summer, it's been relatively quiet here across Michigan. That polar jet stream has receded north to about 55 degrees latitude. So that polar jet's responsible for a lot of the passage of our active weather systems that's sitting up north over Hudson Bay right now. So it's been relatively quiet. We're sitting under an upper level trough, which generally means drier conditions and cooler than we've been experiencing. So over the last week, across a lot of Michigan, most areas see anywhere from just about 1/10 of an inch of rain to some really isolated patches of over an inch up in the northeast part of the state and in the southeast part of the state. But overall, it's been significantly drier than much of the summer. We should note that August is generally our driest time in Michigan, so not completely unexpected, but with that dry down, there are some concerns that come along with it. The last 7 days did start off warmer, so towards the beginning of the last 7 days, temperatures have been averaging anywhere from near normal in the southwest part of the state to 3 to 4 degrees above normal in the eastern side of the state and up into the UP. So it has been warm, but those have been coming down as the last couple of days have gone on. If you notice, cooler, drier air. And what this really meant, if we look at this in terms of thermal units, you'll note down there in the left side of the screen, that's a map of growing degree days accumulated since May 1st. And I know Jeff has been showing this off and on over the summer. And it's been below normal, and with the recent warm streak we had, most of the southern part of the state is catching up, close to average for this time of year, while as you move north, we're still relatively below what that average would be for that time of year. Since there is that widely varying phenology of the field crops out there, especially with corn, depending on when it was planted, we've got crops out there anywhere from silking to still in relatively early vegetative stages. So when those crops can most take advantage of that increased temperature is something to keep watching. But we are, it has been getting warmer. One thing without that rain we've been seeing is the topsoil drying down across the state. So the latest numbers from the USDA World Ag Outlook Board show 51% of topsoil, so the top 6 inches in Michigan, being short or very short on moisture. So if you have a shallow-rooted crop, it might not be able to take advantage of that moisture that's still in the subsoil. So that's something to watch as well. So maybe some flash drought or agricultural drought concerns in areas with thinner, sandier soils. Something to watch. That's up 22% over the previous week. And that's the largest increase percentage-wise in the Midwest. Notice Illinois had a 20% increase, Indiana about 11%. Otherwise, as you move west, topsoil conditions are still looking better. So out there right now, not much going on across the state. We're located under some surface high pressure, so things are relatively dry. You've been outside this morning, you notice kind of nice, cool, dry air. That looks like that will be the case for the next couple of days. So on the screen right now is the current conditions. You'll notice that high pressure centered over Michigan and Wisconsin, and no real low pressure in sight, no real rain projected over the next near future. As we move into Friday morning, you'll see this low pressure system located over Alberta. That's our nearest weather maker. That might cause some weather towards the beginning of next week. And along that frontal boundary extending from that low, you'll see some precipitation over the central Great Plains, over into Minnesota and Wisconsin, but that high pressure still is holding for us, and so it should be nice and warm and dry, kind of moving Friday into the weekend, and Saturday more of the same. That low is starting to push into the area, and that front's getting closer, but still looking dry for Saturday through the weekend. With that front moving closer and that trough digging deeper, what we might notice as we move into Sunday and into Monday, I'll probably be getting warmer and more humid as that system approaches and we get some more moisture into the region. But overall, things are looking near normal to slightly above normal temperatures and dry for the next couple of days. As we look out to next week, what the projected precipitation totals are through next Thursday morning, not a lot of accumulations across most of the state. Most of the state's projected to receive anywhere from quarter to half-inch of rain over the next 7 days, so not a lot. Some isolated areas could pick up more if you happen to catch a thunderstorm. But with the upper air pattern as it is, that ridge over the western U.S. and that trough over the eastern U.S., there's just not a lot of broad, large-scale support for moisture transport and thunderstorm development across the region. So thunderstorms will probably be relatively isolated. If they do occur, and there won't be any large-scale thunderstorms. The exception to that would be probably Tuesday to Wednesday as that cold front pushes through the area. There is some chance for some wider spread precipitation, but totals, as shown by the forecast, aren't expected to be large. So no 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches of rainfall over the next week. As we look out towards the next 6 to 10 days, really that upper air pattern that we've been under the last few days is going to stick around. So if you see there in the center of your screen, that's the upper air 500 millibars pressure pattern. So what's showing is that ridging over the western U.S. So there you're seeing warm temperatures and that trough in the east with that jet stream located off to the north. We will probably, that generally leads to near normal or below normal temperatures and usually a bit drier. If you notice the maps on the right, those are probabilities of above normal, below normal temperatures, and on the bottom there is above or below normal precipitation. In the 6 to 10 days, they're really queuing in on that slight warm-up this weekend as that low-pressure system does push into the region. So a slightly elevated chance of above normal temperatures. And then with the rainfall next week associated with the system that they're forecasting, a slightly elevated chance of above normal precipitation. If I were making the forecast, I would probably put that as near normal or equal chances. I don't think that system's going to be a large rain producer. And as we look out to what is projected to happen for the rest of the month of August, CPC, so the Climate Prediction Center with NOAA, just released these long lead outlooks yesterday. So on the top of the screen there, on the left, is the 1 month outlook for temperature probabilities. And this was a bit of a change from the previous outlook. They really extended that area in blue, as you see there, off to the east to cover us, whereas before it was centered over the northern plains. And that is indicating that August will have an elevated probability of below normal temperatures, so cooler in the month of August, as well as dry. And what's that really being attributed to is in the next 2 weeks, that ridge trough pattern is projected to hold by all the models, so really more of the same. The occasional small system might move through, but really the predominant conditions will be cooler than they have been and drier. When we look at the models looking out longer, so 2 or 3 weeks out, there's some disagreement among the models. Some models show that ridge trough pattern breaking down and becoming more zonal, which would mean a more active weather pattern, so more east to west rather than things coming down from the north. And we could see, some of the models would be more of a warm-up and a pattern shift and a return to more of what we've been seeing. Some of the other models are indicating that this pattern is going to hold through August. So CPC is queuing in on those models that are projecting that pattern to hold through the month of August. So right now they're saying cooler and drier chances through August. Moving into the fall, right now we're in a weak El Nino event, and that's really what these long lead outlooks on the bottom of your screen are picking up on, which are generally indicative of near normal to slightly above normal temperatures for the region in the fall, and then no real direction on precipitation this far out. So right now the message for the fall is slightly higher chances of above normal temperatures to near normal, equal chances of above below normal temperatures. Not a lot of direction, but a hint that it could be warmer than normal. And that's really sticking with the long-term trend of what we've been seeing, and not unusually with precipitation that far out, there's not a strong signal in the forecasts. Since I mentioned it, right now we currently are under a weak El Nino conditions in the equatorial Pacific, but that's projected to weaken throughout the fall and go to ENSO neutral, so not a lot of direction on there. There is some projections that moving into the fall and into the winter, that El Nino will strengthen, or the equatorial Pacific will warm and might reinitiate an El Nino, which could indicate warmer and drier conditions through the fall into the winter. That's what we tend to expect with those events, but right now that's not a real strong forecast. So if there were an El Nino, then it would probably be a weaker one. So that probably won't give a lot of indications towards the fall as it is right now. So that was just something I wanted to stick in there. And to summarize, over the next 7 days, we can expect temperatures to be near normal to slightly above normal, particularly this weekend. As far as rain, it's drier in general than we have been. Besides the rain at the beginning of next week, that's likely with that frontal passage. Not really expecting a lot of rain. The medium range guidance, so the next 6 to 10 days, suggests near normal temperatures and drier conditions associated with that upper level trough. And then really the new long lead outlooks for August for the 1 month suggest below normal temperatures for the region and below normal precipitation. And for the fall, we're looking at normal to slightly above normal temperatures forecast with no real direction on precipitation. So what that means is hopefully we'll have a warm fall, and those late planted crops can get enough thermal units to mature. So with that, happy to take any questions.
All right. Thank you, BJ.
Yep.